Hear that? That's the sound of a patient whose health data is protected from a cyber attack. And that's the sound of a financial system that's digitally secured from bad actors. Right now, there's an invisible war being fought on a digital battlefield that impacts what we do every day. That's why at Peraton, we do the can't be done to help protect the vital systems we rely on. Because if we don't, the alternative is unimaginable. Peraton.
Hey, it's Matt from the Direct-to-Video Connoisseur here. Thanks again for listening to the DTVC podcast. Before we jump in, I wanted to quickly let you know that my new novel, A Girl and a Gun, is available on Amazon now, both on Kindle and paperback. It follows Justin, a successful writer whose past as a scriptwriter for a fetish porn site comes back to haunt him and threatens to derail his career. As he's picking up the pieces, he gets an opportunity to make a movie called A Girl and a Gun with a rom-com star. Justin may have bitten off more than he can chew, though, because she's notoriously difficult to work with. If you're interested, you can find the link on our webpage, along with the link to my first novel, Chad in Accounting. If you have any questions, please reach out, and I thank you for the support. Now, on to the podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Direct-to-Video Connoisseur podcast. As always, this is Matt here, and I am joined by frequent collaborators, Ty and Brett from Comeuppance Reviews. Welcome back, guys.
Great to be back.
Hey, we're back. And I gotta say, that song comes in before we start talking. The Direct-to-Video Connoisseur song. It's great.
Yes. Yeah, John Cross of After Movie Diner, he created that. And I remember he said to me, like, one of the times that he was on, he was like, "I can't believe you're still using that song." And I was like, "Well, what other song am I going to use? Like, it's like it works. It does what I needed to do." And yeah, I don't know. Do you guys use? So I use a site called Audio Joiner to put my, put the pieces together. So I've got like my ad for my novel, then the intro, then the actual podcast itself, and then the the theme song again at the end. And I think there's like a setting where it can fade in from like one to the other. And so yeah, sometimes it will be like especially at the end, it's almost like the song is like playing us out, like it's I don't know if playing us out is the right term. It's almost like what is it, like the Grammys or the Oscars or something, like where they play the music to get you on stage.
It says Direct-to-Video Connoisseur, bye, how's it going?
Well, so they play you off, as they say.
Exactly, right. It's almost like, all right, guys, come on, wrap up, here comes the song. And it's like, yeah, because I think there's a setting where I could change where it's actually more firm, where it's like, we're done, the song starts, but I don't know, the faded feature, I kind of like it, but so, and of course, anytime I say "play us out," I just think of the Bill O'Reilly, we'll do it live, because I think that's what it was. I think that's what prompted it was the guy who like wrote on the sheet or something, "play us out" or do something like that. He's like, "What does this mean? I don't know what this means," and he started freaking out.
Yeah, see,
go ahead. No, go
I see. Well, I just thought it meant when someone at the Oscars is taking too long, they just start playing the music to get them off the
they
stage.
start thinking the best boy and the gaffers. Like, maybe we got time to play off. It's just like
Exactly.
whoever thanks the best boy and the gaffers.
Well, that's true. It's a lot of thankless work. No one. You're right. People should thank them.
Like, thank you for lugging all this stuff around so I can act for 5 seconds and go back to my trailer.
Oh, and. Because, Matt, you always have these books. The book I'm working on, I do mention something like this where, like, all right, so you watch the credits of a movie and it has everyone that worked on the movie. Nowhere else in life do you get this. Like, when you go to the grocery store, you don't get a long crawl saying the store manager is Larry O'Donnell and the bag boy is this. And only in movies do you get a credit roll. Nowhere else in life, So I just think that's interesting.
Yeah, because it used to not be the case,
okay.
right? It used to be when the movie ended, it just said the end, and that was it, and you didn't know who any of those people were.
That's true. I guess in the old ones they have like some credits in the beginning, and then you don't even think about it.
Well,
And
I do
then
like that. Like, if I ever made a movie, I'd want it to be like a 70s movie where all the credits are in the beginning and then the movie just ends. Or maybe it has the cast again and it says the end. I would put all the credits in the beginning because back then, casts or, the staff of everyone that worked on a movie was a lot smaller. So they can put it like all in the beginning. Now, I guess with these. Isn't there some? Did we talk about this? Yeah, like these superhero movies, the credits go on for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, and then you have like a stinger of like, Dr. Weird's brother, Dr. Strange Jr. says, "I'm coming to the Avengers next year." And everyone goes, "Yay!"
And so people sit through all those credits. I mean, there's so many credits. I mean, I guess if your movie costs $10 billion, a lot of people are going to work on it. But I do think with these big budget Hollywood movies, these credit rolls have gotten longer and longer and longer.
So you might as well have a stinger at the end because you're waiting. Every movie should have a stinger because then you can watch the credits.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like also if you watch them on like TNT or something like that, they just have the credits go flying by.
Right, they fast forward them. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. While they start the next movie in another box.
Or they do that with Law and Order.
Law and Order, exactly.
So they can get you binging on Law and Order or whatever Ion show like Without a Trace or Criminal Minds. You don't even have
Blue Bloods.
They don't even give you time to digest what you just watched. Bam, you're into the next one.
Right, exactly.
Yep. Right to the next Tom Selleck sighing episode on Blue Bloods.
Wait, hi, don't you have an impression of it? Okay, there it is.
I do, yes.
Well, I visit my mom. Or visit my parents. My mom will sometimes watch Blue Bloods, and that's exactly what it is. It's like Selleck behind a desk, just being told bad news and sighing. That's
really all it is now.
It's pretty good work if you can get it. I mean, he's such an established actor. All he has to. I mean, we always talk about sit-down roles.
Yeah.
I've never seen Blue Bloods, but I would ask you guys: is Tom Selleck's role a sit-down role, or is it a sigh-down role?
Yeah, the sigh-down. He stood up in the finale. He actually went outside.
Oh,
I was like, "You're outside?"
Well, maybe he was sighing in the breeze. He wanted to get in some fresh air into his lungs. So instead of going like this, he went like this. And then he breathed in the air.
Surprised by something. Donnie, how could you do something?
Yeah, I guess too. I guess with a guy like a Tom Selleck, you almost like okay, so he does Magnum. I guess is that the mindset of like, okay, you did Magnum, you've earned the right to just sit behind a desk and let Donnie Wahlberg do the heavy lifting or whoever.
Yeah, no, I think
he doesn't do anything anymore either. Donnie Wahlberg, he's getting lazy too.
Right, exactly.
Well, these later sit-down roles, like, one of our favorites, Maximum Force with Mickey Rooney, I think they kind of figure, Mickey, you've had a great career, great life. I think he was a dancer. So it's like, okay, we'll give you your dancing a break and you can just have a seat.
If only he danced around in that limo in Maximum Force, that would be really great.
Yes, it would.
He could probably do it.
Maybe the stoplight just gets out and runs around the limo.
It's one of those super stretch limos where you can just kind of walk around. There's like a pole and like a bar. And it's like.
Yeah, that would have been great. Like if they had like the hot tub in the back of the limo and he's like sitting there with women, and
like two women, it's a cigar.
It's like.
Maybe we had gold chains.
Get that bear guy. It's like
yeah. I mean, the movie's pretty great as it is. I mean, we're really just gilding the lily, as they say, because that I think Maximum Force on its own is definitely a very entertaining and worthwhile movie, even without our embellishments.
Yeah.
Speaking of credits, like I wonder if you do a movie, if you're PM or one of those companies and you make a movie and you need a limo, especially a limo with a hot tub in the back, are you able to get it like maybe for free from the company if because they're going to put the company's name in the credits at the end, like limo with hot tub provided by Jim's Limos in Sherman Oaks, California, or whatever.
Yeah, gotta love Jim's Limos. He does a great work.
I have a 2-word answer to that question there.
Okay.
Bud Dry.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously have some sort of connection with Bud Dry, and so that's why it was prominently in Skyscraper.
And then it blew up, right?
It blew up.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the truck blew up. I mean, There isn't really. I mean, if I'm in the '90s, of course, I wouldn't have been old enough to drink then. But if I'm thinking about a beer, or like if I'm watching a movie like that, I would be like, yeah, why ask why? I should be trying to try.
That's true. So you remember the slogan, as we all do.
It's
So,
kind of like
people are
crunch
very
all you want,
suggestible.
we'll make more.
Well, exactly. Jay Leno hasn't mentioned that for decades,
crunch
but
all
we
you
still
want, make
remember.
more.
Yeah,
Crunch all you want.
it gets
Crunch
stuck
the
in our
Vino
minds.
Voce and the dancing house.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, God.
My favorite one of those was when he was talking about because it was like advertising towards like teens, I guess, and he's like, oh, look at that, you did something wrong, your parents sent you to your room, that's not a bad deal, you've got a TV, your stereo, and tons of bags of Doritos in there. And I was like, yeah, actually it isn't that bad being sent to my room. You're kind of right. I mean, I don't have the bags of Doritos, so I'll have to maybe grab a bag on my way out, like, okay, Mom, yep, you're right, I was bad, I'm going to my room, let me just grab these Doritos and I'll see you later.
Yeah, that's what moody teens. Well, it's like Joe Isuzu. Their whole thing was he's a liar. And that was like their advertising campaign they did for a very long time. They'll say like, "We'll give you a free Isuzu." It's like, "You will?" And then it's like, "No, Joe Isuzu, the Joe Isuzu character was a liar." I don't think they would ever do that today. No company would ever do that today.
Yeah, there were a lot of those kinds of things, right? Like where like there was like some bad person and
Like annoyed.
the Noid.
Yeah.
That was the first thought that I had was the Noid. Yeah, like there's these bad actors who like bad characters that made you. I guess like they told you were a good person, so you should indulge in these things as a good person, I guess.
Yeah, it's a really interesting way of going about advertising. It's kind of like they set up like an antagonist for you to fight against, like a Noid or a Joe Isuzu.
Even Trix the rabbit. His name is Trix.
That's true.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Well, Lucky Charms. He was a bit of a Lucky. Wasn't he a bit of a trickster?
was he a trickster or was he a toucan?
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He was cuckoo.
He was cuckoo,
Which,
so that could be,
they would probably say that that's insensitive to
it's
the
cancel
insane
for
community.
Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, right, really.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Yeah, I mean that's the thing too. See, I haven't watched kids programming in so long. Cause like when I was watching my nephew, he would watch like Nickelodeon. He's older now. I can't imagine he watches Nickelodeon now. He's just turned 16. But when he was younger, I remember like we'd watch these things. And it was interesting too because it would depend on what channel you were on. Like if you were on like ones that were kind of a little bit more progressive, they were not advertising toys and candies and things like that could that were either violent toys or like candies to make kids sick. But I think when you get to like Nickelodeon and you get to like kind of like the preteen phase where the shows like the regular show or things like that, it was just all like, here's 2 minutes of like 15-second commercials of like how many how much candy you can stuff in your face, how much McDonald's you can grab, and then like how many of these toys you can get that you can shoot at your friends.
Well,
That's living the dream. You just stuff your face with French fries, and then you just shoot people with Nerf guns.
Yes.
It's like,
well, that's the world they want us to live in. I mean, look at Mountain Dew. I mean, they'd have us doing all kinds of dangerous stunts.
Yes.
What'd you do, Brett? You jumped out of a helicopter,
Well,
or a skateboard, or no,
Well, it was a snowboard,
backwards?
and it was upside down,
It's
and
upside
I
down,
was
yeah.
slamming a Dew at the time because that's what I was told to do by Mountain Dew Incorporated. Like, you
All
don't
rights
drink a Dew,
reserved.
as we say. You slam a
Just
Dew.
like the Dew.
Yeah, drink and do. Don't drink and do, but drink
No,
and
no
do.
one's ever drank a Dew. It's you slam it or nothing.
Have you noticed too that on the bottles it's no longer Mountain spelled out, it's MTN, Dew.
Yeah. Yes. MTS. Well, that's another thing that I talked about, which is taking vowels out of things.
Yes.
Like, why is that cool? Like, since when are vowels uncool? I
No, they're
just
cool.
don't understand.
They're not cool. We're
Like, people on the
buy a
East Coast will
vowel.
know this. Yeah, like it's not Dunkin' Donuts. It's DNKN, or
Yeah.
it says
Well, no,
it's like
just Dunkin'.
Dinkin, David Dinkins. I don't know what this is supposed to be.
Yeah,
I'm going to David Dinkin. I'm going to get a Dinkin donut. It's like,
Well, they even took the word donuts off
Right.
because apparently that is considered like incorrect because they have all this other kind of food. They have this great gourmet menu. They're not just donuts. So they're in a lot of time, a lot of places they took off this sign that said donuts and now it just says Dunkin'.
Yeah, I read
As if
about
you're going to
that.
dunk like an omelet. Like, what else would you
Exactly.
dunk?
Well, that's the thing, right? What are you doing? But I read about that because there's like that health food craze that happened, I guess, like, what was it, like the late 2000s or something like that? And I guess, Dunkin' Donuts survived it, like kind of the anti-carb thing and all that stuff. I guess Dunkin' Donuts survived it where Krispy Kreme took like a huge hit because they were known for their coffee. and I guess they went all in on the coffee. But you're right. Like, what are you dunking if like I'm dunking my head in the coffee? Like, what am I doing?
Well, I mean, I think the first example of that I can remember is when Kentucky Fried Chicken moved to KFC, as if we don't all know what that stands for.
Right,
I think it stands for Kentucky Fried Chicken.
It's like, well, because the word fried is considered offensive, so
Yeah, you can have
just
everything
have
fried.
to. No, it's now KFC. Come on, we all know what it stands for.
That was a Leno monologue joke I remember at the time, because when they announced it. And the funny thing too is, I don't know, do you guys remember an urban legend that said that the reason why Kentucky Fried Chicken changed their name to KFC is that they weren't using real chicken? And that was the
familiar.
thing. Yeah, and it's like, no, it's because they're, and it's like, I think people don't realize how cheap chicken farming is. Like, it's not like it would cost a lot more to make a fake like chicken breast organic or like synthetic thing than it is to actually just throw a bunch of chickens in a farm and make them. But I remember Jay Leno joke, that was in his monologue. He was like, Kentucky Fried Chicken has changed their name to KFC because they think fried makes their food sound too fattening.
And so kids can go to their room and have some Doritos. So that would be an interesting feint. It's not like, so it's not that they're trying to obscure the word fried. It's they're trying to obscure the word chicken. Which is like, we did like, I remember my buddy and I were taking a course in college on in anthropology about folklore, and it talked about urban legends, like how urban legends start. And we actually looked into that one because we were curious, because I remember we were at some kid was telling us about it. He's like, yeah, it's called Animal 104. That's what, and we're like, where did you see that? Oh, my friend saw it. It was on this, it's like always that kind of thing, like the friend saw it or something, and it's like, he's like, yeah, but it's true. And it's like, no, it's not, and then I think we looked into it. I think it was like, actually I think I had to do like UNH like did something. And then I think it was Time Magazine talked about like this idea, I guess, of like being able to just genetically, I don't know, like through cells or something, produce just the chicken breast. And they're like, boy, Kentucky Fried Chicken would love to get their hands on this. And I think that's how it turned into like the urban legend of like, that's what they did. Well, but that's not to be confused with what Subway really does do with what they call turkey-based meats.
Yes,
so,
we saw that on the menu, the turkey-based meats. Like, it's not.
So when you order like salami or whatever sort of meat at Subway, it's really not that. It's like it's turkey, and there's an asterisk at the bottom of the menu that says turkey-based meats. So that's real. That's not an urban legend. That if you think Subway can actually afford this meat, like, so you can get a $3.99 sub that has like sausage and like pepperoni. No, it's fake meat. I mean, it's meat, but it's like turkey dressed up to taste like meat, and it's very weird.
Yeah, it's like
That's
the
why
bits.
Stop going.
Yeah, it's like bits of stuff that they put together, and it's like, yeah, if you ever see like the deli turkey breasts, like a really good one looks kind of like what you'd expect the turkey breast to look like, but the cheap ones, it's just like this ball of white that is like that you slice the meat off, and it's like, yeah, it's it's, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it's something you could taste like what you're eating. It's like not right.
Well, it's kind of like when Subway used yoga mats to make their bread. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Well, basically, apparently it's some sort of preservative or chemical they put in the bread. That's the same chemical that's used to make yoga mats. And then they got called out on it. It's like, well, we don't do that anymore. It's like, well, okay,
anymore.
But you did. And that's real too. And you can look that up. And I forget the name of the chemical. It's some long chemical name that I'm not going to remember. But if people are interested in that, if you Google Subway and yoga mats, you will find that is a real thing.
This is a good segue because we're talking about meat. And
To meat.
we're talking about meat
Sorry.
from meathead, a potential kind of meathead
And
extension.
well, yeah, and it's Matt was saying it's like you have a story about a certain fitness instructor, or so you thought. So that's kind of is a good segue.
Who are we
too.
talking about, Matt, today?
Yeah, well, so today our subject, our list, an actor that we're spotlighting is Frank Zagarino. And interesting, I had Mitch from the Video Vacuum on recently to talk Godfrey Ho, and he was talking about how, you kind of like you see a movie on IMDb and you look at the critic reviews, and it's like, did Comeuppance review it? Did Direct-to-Video Connoisseur? Did Video Vacuum? And one of the things Mitch talked about was like sometimes like he's the last out of us to review it. So it's like, you guys reviewed it, I've reviewed it, and one thing he said is kind of cool is like if you go back and you see like, oh, okay, so like Comeuppance reviewed it in 2010, and then Matt reviewed it in 2014, and like where are they in their process of reviewing movies? You know what I mean? Like oh, do they know who this actor is at that time or that kind of thing? I think there was one movie that you guys did in 2011 that I actually commented on and said, yeah, I got to get around to doing this one soon. And then I reviewed it in like 2021, and I was like, I went and saw
10
it.
years.
Yeah,
only
exactly.
10 years too early. It's like,
Well, 10 years goes by fast nowadays, so
Yeah.
It does. It's just boom, there we go. And I didn't remember making the comment. I was like, I was like,
do you know what movie that was? Because I can
I
take a
wish I
look
could
at
think
it.
of it. It was one that I reviewed recently, so I'll have to go back and look and see. I remember it was like one of those things where it was like, it might have been a Matthias Hughes movie, or no, it was something that I reviewed.
Okay.
And I wish I can't think of what the name was, but it was like, I was like, oh yeah, I commented in it was something like 10 years later.
Was it a Fong?
No, it was somebody famous. It was like somebody that was like in there that was kind of famous. It was a couple months ago, so it was a little while ago, I think. But I remember being like, oh, I got to review this movie. And oh, you know what it was? I think it was the Rothrock one, Triple Cross or
Angel Fury, Triple
Angel
Cross.
Fury. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's the one. Let's see. It was I think that's it. Let's see, I'm almost to it. Here we go. Yes, here we go. Okay, I think I said, okay, yeah, this is the opening to my review of Angel Fury, aka Triple Cross. I was like, with Cynthia Rothrock's birthday coming on March 8th, I figured we'd review a movie in celebration, and this one's been on my list to watch for some time. How long, you ask? Well, when Ty and Brett at Comeuppance reviewed it in 2010, I said then that it was on my to-watch list, so I guess 12 years. Yeah, so that was the one. So yeah, it's always interesting. And so one of the things I always think about with Zagarino is that my first movie of his that I didn't know who he was, and the movie was called Never Say Die. And I had never seen anything. I guess the thing is, I had seen him in stuff before. I just didn't know who he was because he didn't look like the same guy. I'd seen Project Shadow Chaser. I've seen those movies, and I guess I just didn't put the two together. So I referred to him as a lesbian fitness instructor because he kind of looked like Susan Powder with his he had like this buzz cut that was like reddish shade, and then he had like this like shirt with like the collar cut off of it, like kind of a Jennifer Beals style. And I just referred to him the entire time as a lesbian fitness instructor. Oh, this lesbian fitness instructor is a hero. He seemed kind of cool, but like, why does he look like this and stuff? And of course, like, you can't call anybody a lesbian fitness instructor anymore anyway. And I'm not going to go through and Lucas the review and change it so that I remove that piece. It's there, that's what it's going to be.
Well, it makes you think because it could be, instead of flash dance, you got zag dance.
Right,
So it's like,
right. Yeah, it would be great to What a Feeling. Yeah, it would be. But yeah, it's funny. Like now, I reviewed that one in 2008. So 14 years later, it's like I know who Zags is for sure. And again, I knew him at that time. I just didn't put two and two together. I didn't think like, oh, this lesbian fitness instructor guy is Project Shadow Chaser, and so it's interesting, kind of like with these movies, like how we've been doing this for so long that there's sort of that evolution of like, okay, I didn't know who this person is. Now I do know who they are, and I know all that kind of stuff. And kind of looking back at an old post like that and being like, what, Matt, direct-to-video connoisseur, didn't know who Frank Zagarino was, or like, why is he calling him? Doesn't he know who Zagarino is? And it's like, well, if you go through the later posts, yes, I know who he is, but at that time it didn't.
that's exactly what we thought too. I mean, what Deadly Reckoning was one of our first Zags we reviewed. It's like, who is this guy? Who is this kind of goofball? We didn't like Deadly Reckoning. I think we watched another one, didn't like. It's like, oh no, Zags isn't doing so hot. Then we watched some other good ones, which we'll mention on this list. So,
well, it's all a process of discovery. I mean, no one's born knowing who Frank Zagarino is. You have to discover. Well, maybe some people are, but you have to discover these action stars bit by bit, so I mean, you can't blame yourself for not knowing who he was at some time. It's like what we always say with Richard Norton. Who's Richard Norton? And then now it seems silly that we didn't know who he was, but you can't always know who everyone is. You have to discover them.
You got to start somewhere,
Yeah, and it's funny because like Norton's a great example too, because I only knew of Zorton.
Zorton.
Zags and Norton.
Zorton. Yeah, there's one guy now. You trust the Zorton's fisherman.
Right, exactly.
And your Zorton's feature.
That'd be interesting if there was a movie where like they had Norton for the beginning and then they lost it, like a Leo Fong kind of movie where like he had Norton and then Norton couldn't do the rest of the movie, so he gets Zags in to do the same part, just like as if like nothing changed. And
they almost did that with that 24 Hours to Midnight with like all those like crazy footage with
exactly.
who may or may not be
Beverly
Cynthia
Hills.
Rothrock.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I only knew Norton through Rothrock's movies, and it was like, oh no, this guy's got his own career that he's had outside of Rothrock, where he even had a career before Rothrock. He was, he'd started doing films even, before her, and it's this big career there, and it's like kind of the same thing where it's like, oh no, this guy is not just the guy who stars in Cynthia Rothrock movies.
Right.
He's got some good ones, like sort of Bushido. I think that was a good one by Richard Norton.
Oh, you mean as far as his earlier ones?
Yeah.
But Frank Zagarino,
we can jump into that. I mean, jump into that list. Well, Matt, do you want to start with your number? Well, let's want to keep talking about Zags before we get into more.
I say we dive into the list. I think one of the things maybe to say about this list, at least for me, and I don't know how you felt, was that this was a bit on the Politricky side because Zagarino is kind of further down the tiers, right? Like
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, boy, this movie's really bad. And, he did a lot of movies with like a guy like, I think his name's like J. Christian Ingvordsen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Who, that guy's Steve Kamen, the one that did like the
Total Force.
Movies. Right. I think
well.
he used to work as like a cinematographer for J. Christian Ingvordsen. So that's why like some of his movies kind of look that way, but look like kind of these movies, but they're like this level of like bad that's kind of like below, like the Wynorski, Fred Olen Ray directed, or Pion or whoever, it's like
it's true.
It's interesting because watching a lot of these, because that's one of the things I like about doing these lists, is that I'll kind of dig into somebody's filmography and do a bunch of their movies, when usually for the blog it's just like you do one movie because it's like, well, I can't do 5 Zagarino posts in a row. I mean, I guess I could if I wanted to. I could do whatever I want.
Zag week.
Right, Zaguary, exactly. It's like Zaguary maybe or something.
Zaguary, that's pretty good. Yeah, Zaguary. Yeah,
exactly. But so I don't do as many, and so when doing a bunch, you kind of get a better sense of like what some of this career is like sometimes, and it's like, yeah, Zag's like he had a great screen presence, but it's like, boy, he just like it's almost like, okay, could Lorenzo Lamas do this movie? Okay, yeah, then okay, then we're gonna so he's gonna get passed over because Lamas is gonna take this higher, and then the next tier down, maybe Daniels is gonna take the movie, and it's like by the time the movies get to Zagarino, they're like they're definitely on the lower end of the budget scale.
Yeah, that's true, but there are some gems mixed in.
There's some gems, and there's a bunch. He's made some silly ones, which I'll definitely mention. Yeah. I mean, if you want to start with your number.
Yeah, well,
5.
You want to dive in with your number 5?
Oh, sure. I'll do number 5 first. Yeah. I picked The Revenger.
Oh, okay. Right. So I've never seen this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we won't spoil it or anything, but it's an AIP movie that also has Arnold Vosloo.
And
nice.
Now I forgot his name. Oliver Reed.
So, oh, yeah. And
walrus mustache.
And yeah, I mean, if you can get a hold of it, it's definitely worth seeing. And there's some interesting surprises, and the whole smooth sax storyline.
Sax Man. That's what they called it in the original title.
Yeah, the original title was Sax Man.
Yeah. And then they changed it to The Revenger. It almost doesn't sound like a word, but it was Frank Zagarino.
It has some of the best revengering I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That would be a great Asylum take on the Avengers, right?
Yeah, the Revengers. Yeah, it does sound like that. Yeah,
you get like Richard Grieco or something like that.
And he'd be like, I don't know, something man, and they make it up, and it's I don't know.
But
yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, I guess we won't go too deeply into it unless Ty, you wanted to say something about it.
Oh no, I thought that was a good number 5 because it's like it goes right to the silly part of Zagarino's career. It's The Revenger. It's like he plays saxophone. He fights Oliver Reed. It's like that's it's something about that. We can just jump right into that silliness.
Yeah, for people out there, so this is available on YouTube for free. But I don't know if the version it looks like it was uploaded by somebody either from Brazil
Oh, no.
Portugal. So, I mean, if it's just got subtitles, it works. But the other thing, and this is kind of a rare thing, this is actually available to rent for $1 on Prime.
Wow.
Which, you'd rather have it be free, but
Wow.
it's, exactly. But
Yeah, it's Owen Wilson, and we'll be watching it soon.
Yeah.
if you're out there, Owen Wilson, you're looking for someone to watch. I think in your case, Owen, $1 isn't that bad.
He has a lot of Jill Bette Taylor money he can use to rent Revenger. So.
I'm guessing no one's ever said that sentence before.
No. He only has Jill Bette Taylor money. He doesn't have
To
anything
watch
else.
The Revenger. Like, that's never been said by any human being ever. So congratulations.
That's what we do on this podcast, right? We cover territory that nobody else has ever covered.
That's true. And
we
take pride in doing that too.
That's the power of imagination.
It really is.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else on the. I mean, I definitely now see that it's available. I've definitely got to make this one happen for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend that you check that out, especially if you're in a Zags frame of mind.
Yeah,
and
I think you'll like the beginning. Like, I think you'll be hooked in after the first couple minutes.
Yeah.
And what about your number 5?
So my number 5. This was one that I wasn't sure if I was going to include or not, but it edged out some other ones. And so it's Cyborg Cop 3. And the thing with this one is that the beginning of it, like the first half hour is not great. And that's why I wasn't sure if I wanted to include it or not. But like the last hour where Zags and Genesee really get after it, I really liked that part of it. And so it kind of won out in that sense.
That's a great point. Because it's like, we thought, and then it really picked up. Like, there's some killer stunts, and Zags singing, and he has a hat. It's like he's singing into like a spatula or something.
Yeah, there's a picture of that. We posted that, right?
Yeah, we posted
if
that.
you look up our review, you'll see the picture we're talking about. He's just shirtlessly in the kitchen, singing and cooking up something, and
cooking up something fun.
So it's just without a care in the world, and I guess that's how you know that he's like a cool dude, possibly with an attitude. And he is there a fanny pack in that?
I don't know if this one had the fanny, because part 2, they definitely go all in on fanny packs.
They go all fanny, all fanny.
Yeah. It's like... yeah, because my version, when I saw this for my review, it was packaged with Cyborg Cop 2. There's Zach singing into this. That's perfect.
You had to have it. You just have to take a picture of that because.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't get that, because I got what's his face. I got Genesee almost choking on his beer. Picture of Genesee, he's almost spitting out his beer. It's almost like almost like he's getting goosed by the plant that's behind him, the potted plant that's behind him.
Usually he's crying into his beer. I guess now he's spitting out his beer. But,
I mean, he can almost be maybe a podcast down the line, Genesee.
Oh yeah.
Because he's another guy who's kind of down the line.
He's down the line, yeah. So the Genesis of Genesee.
I've already got the title. That's fast.
Sega Genesee.
Sega Genesee. Yeah,
Sega Genesee. That's even better. Sega Genesee. Yeah. Do you remember that commercial in the 90s, Matt? It was like Ooga Sega. It's like these tribal leaders are really loving Sega Genesis. There's a Ooga Sega.
Yes. Yeah. I remember. Yeah. What was the one that you guys were talking about on one of your podcasts? Shove It, the game.
Shove It. Oh yes. You can ask me any question about Shove It. I can answer any question about that game. I know everything there is to know about Shove It.
See, I never took I didn't buy it. I remember seeing it
most people
really
didn't.
Yeah, you'd see it for really cheap though. It was it was like the bait and switch kind of thing too, where it was Genesis games for the as low as $10 or whatever, and you'd go in there and be like, oh, it's just Shove It. Where's
Well, that's interesting that for a couple of reasons. So in other places besides Connecticut, they had these low price Genesis games too. I didn't even know that, but I guess you were smart enough not to take the bait. I just thought, well, I'm a kid. I'm I don't know, 11, 12 years old. This is all I have. Of course, I'm going to try Shove It because Shove It, that sounds cool, with an attitude. And then no, not exactly. Shoving some boxes.
The thing I remember when I first bought because one of the things with me was I went the Genesis route where the rest of my friends went Super Nintendo. So that was I had one friend whose dad was a pilot, so he was rich, so they had both the Genesis and Super Nintendo. But when I got my Genesis, there was a rebate where you get Sonic for free. And that was the other thing, too, that was really cool, was that I put in for this rebate, and in the mail, I got Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's interesting, because a lot of Genesises came with Sonic the Hedgehog. So
Right.
you didn't even need a rebate. It was just packaged with it. So maybe some weren't, but then you get a rebate,
That, now that explains why I was able to get the rebate. Was that like they probably didn't want to pull the ones off the shelves that didn't have Sonic on them, so they just did the rebate.
Yeah, I think that's probably what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Sonic 2 is coming along.
Right. So they want to blow out the rest of the Sonics, which they probably made a lot of. Kind of like Mario with regular Nintendo. Some came with it. And they wanted to really get people hooked in. So that's what they did.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because it was like it was Super Mario and Duck Hunt, and then it was Super Mario, Duck Hunt, and the track and field
World Class Track Meet. Yeah.
Yeah. So people have like there's three different versions of Super Mario out there. There's like just the one that's just Super Mario. There's I had the Duck Hunt one. That was what
so did I. But then later on, when I started really collecting NES games in earnest, about I don't know whatever that was, 10 plus years ago, then I got the one that has World Class Track Meet on it as well. So it's out there. It's not, I don't think it's, particularly rare, but I think they wanted people to buy a power pad.
Right.
So that was a power pad, which I never did have, but I think they wanted to, promote the power pad.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend who had the power pad, and what we would do is instead of running on the power pad, we would just use kind of kneel down on the ground and use our fists.
You're just like slapping the ground.
Exactly.
That's what kids did.
Yeah, I can see that. Slap. It's just like,
yes.
I mean, you're going to start breakdancing on it or something.
Oh, that would have been. Because there was that, and there was the handy glove that was also a waste. It was like
the power glove. You mean
the power glove? Wasn't that like listed as like one of the biggest busts in video game history, or like up there?
Well, I did have one, and I guess the only reason why that's a bust is because it didn't work. But
I
remember. It looked cool.
They really promoted it on the movie The Wizard.
Right.
Right. That's what
that kid has his in like a special metal box, and he opens the box. It's like it's like a gun. People have those guns, and then it has like a foam cutout where like you take the gun out. He had that for the power glove. It's like wow, and they really made it look like it worked in that movie.
The thing about The Wizard is that if you rewatch The Wizard now, people are like, oh, awesome, Super Mario 3, the power glove is so bad. You see those parts. If you really watch the movie, it's actually a really depressing movie. It's not that fun because the kid, he doesn't talk. He's really sad about like family issues. Like, this is not very fun. It's like,
if they made that today,
Christian Slater, chasing around, Fred Savage and gang. It's like, I like the Nintendo. It's like,
I mean, they had to fashion some sort of movie around Nintendo, and specifically Super Mario Brothers 3. They had to do something. So you're right. They maybe should have made it a bit more upbeat, but I think I saw it in the theater. I was very excited about The Wizard at the time.
Yeah, I definitely saw that.
And I rewatched a couple years ago. I was like, this isn't fun. This is depressing. And Fred Savage is like, and well, that's Christian Slater too. It's like, so that's pretty cool. Like, Christian Slater is Fred Savage's brother in it, and Beau Bridges is hanging around. People should rewatch it. So.
Yeah, the Beau Bridges factor. That's a good point. I forgot about Beau Bridges being in that, because he went on to have that was like kind of just before he was like relegated to Lifetime Zone.
I guess we can go to number 4.
What do you guys have for number 4?
We just want to talk about, we did the Beau Bridges podcast.
Yeah. Do you have a title for that?
Let me think. I'll tie it up with a bow.
Okay, there you go. All right. So what is the next movie?
Okay, so I have Tenzan.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that's my number 2 actually.
Oh, wow, it jumped. Okay, I thought we were gonna have an overlap on that one.
Yeah, so we could have a good conversation on that one.
Yeah, sure. So this is Zags in North Korea. You could just stop there.
It's like one of the only like Western movies to be made in North Korea, and it's for that alone, I think it's kind of a historic movie. I mean, no other movies are ever shot in North Korea. But they allowed this production to go forward, and I think Zags got in some trouble because he was taking pictures, because why wouldn't you? You're in North Korea, and then they like arrested him, and
like he's a terrorist. I mean, it's like it's a spy, I guess.
But for that historic factor, regardless of anything else, I think people should see it.
And it's just fun because it's an exploding hut movie. just in
Right.
North Korea. It's like
Yeah, Tencent Ultimate Mission.
Ultimate Mission, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what did it for me that made this really fascinating for me is that it is essentially a Philippine action movie. You know, it's directed by an Italian director. It has all the kind of the feel. It's like it's essentially like the paint by numbers or like the paradigm of your classic Philippine action movie. Only it's in North Korea, and it's like you get this sense too that like you know I'm watching it where like they're in like the subway and stuff like that, and it's almost like they're trying to show off how great North Korea is. But then, you know, and I wonder too if like there was a sense from like the producers of like, hey, maybe we can go to North Korea instead of the Philippines because, you know, with the dictator there, I have a feeling that like, you know, it'd just be like, okay, you know, we're going to shoot a scene in that subway. Great. We're going to close down the subway and nobody can ride the subway today.
Yeah, maybe that is part of what they were thinking.
Interesting idea. I know. Well, who was the leader at the time? It was Kim Jong. You know,
Not
it
Un.
was Un. I was like maybe even before that. Yeah, I don't know.
It's in our review, actually. I looked it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
look it up now.
the name is there. It might be. Is it Kim Il Sung? I think
I'll look it up while you talk.
But anyway, it's not important. It's just, you know, it's just like a good Exploding Hut type movie with Zags. It just with that weird quirk that it's in North Korea.
Yeah, and I have to think that probably that situation that happened with Zags getting
Kim
arrested.
Il Sung.
Kim Il Sung. Oh yeah. That makes Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's then Supreme Leader.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there was a sense of like, oh, you know, we could make movies here because it would be cheaper. You know, you have the government control and all that. And then when Zags gets arrested, and there were probably some other issues that they probably ran into. Like they were probably told, like, okay, you've got to shoot in our train station to show off our great train station, you know, and all that stuff.
I would say it's not worth it. It's too much of a hassle. You know,
yeah,
it's like
too many
you get
restrictions.
too many restrictions. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you do get some perks, but you also could be in prison for life, possibly tortured. So I don't think it's really worth it personally, but that's just me.
Exactly. Yeah. So it seems like it was an experiment, but the thing is that, you know, the thing that kind of fascinated me about it, and that's why I moved it down to number 2 on my list, was that everything else about it is like your standard like Philippine action movie just in North Korea. And but also Zags as the hero was very like you know, like, I mean, he's only 29 when he makes this movie, but he's like very kind of lantern jaw, you know, like leading man-ish, that I really liked as well.
Yeah, well, he's definitely a good lead at this point in his career.
He's made some good ones, which I'm going to mention very soon for number 1 and number 2. Now your number, 4?
My number 4, I went with just the standard Project Shadow Chaser.
Okay.
So, you know, Zags as a, you know, android villain. This one's number 4 just because you don't get as like there's not a lot of personality in Zags' character, and the movie itself is kind of, you know, it's kind of like a fun, you know, just like you know, VHS, you know, cable bad actioner. But I kind of like Zags as that villain. Like he kind of really brings it as this like sort of like unfeeling android. So I enjoyed it for that. So yeah, and it's also kind of from a Zag standpoint. Like he had 2 movie franchises. He had the Project Shadow Chaser movies, and then he had the Air Boss movies. I saw the first Air Boss.
You saw the Air Boss? I'm assuming that's not on your list.
Yeah, I finally saw it, and I was like, wow. Well, of course he's only in the movie like for the second half, but it's just like,
oh.
I mean, he's in it at the beginning, but he really only kind of comes in as like, you know, and it's interesting too because there's a sense in Air Boss when he comes in like towards the second half when they bring him in, because I won't say what happened, but they bring him in.
Okay.
But there's almost a sense of like, you know, kids like, you know, like maybe like teenagers or something, like maybe like, you know, teenagers using the grill for the first time, and then it's like, oh, here's dad to show you how to use the grill. It's almost like here's dad showing these kids how to be in an action movie. You know, the Zags just shows up and is like, yeah, let me show you how to use that. You know, it has that sense to it.
I gotta ask, well, who's the Air Boss? You know, not Tony Danza. It's
No.
Frank Zagarino.
Exactly. See, that's the thing, is that the movie is like this really bad, like kind of like paint by numbers, like, oh, it's the special forces, you know, Navy SEALs guys are teaming up with the FBI to capture terrorists, and nobody gets along because they've all got their own agendas and all this stuff. And then, you know, like a whole bunch of like, you know, like stock footage and a whole bunch of military terms. And it's like, you know, how cool are we doing all this stuff? When really the movie should have been Frank Zagarino starring opposite, any older lady, named Mona, and like complaining and stuff like that, and just be like, oh, what am I supposed to do here? I mean, just Zagarino. Maybe Zagarino, like he's like a butler for somebody who flies planes a lot, like who has like a private jet and has to fly around a lot.
Well,
So
that's what it should have
is.
been.
Yeah, who's the air? I mean, it. It's like you're going to either get like this bad paint by numbers action movie that you've just seen so many times before and you've seen done so much better, or you're going to get something completely unique that just you weren't expecting. Sometimes you got to go out on that limb and you got to make that thing that's unique.
Well, Product Shadow Chaser is kind of a fun, if you just like you watch it in the morning, it's just like like you have a day off,
Right.
and it's like, all right, I'll watch Product Shadow Chaser. I have the second one too.
Yeah,
I've seen it in a while. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, yeah. You mean you own it?
I own. I'm sorry, I own the first and second, but I don't own the third one.
Yeah.
Isn't there like Project Shadow Chaser 3000, which I haven't seen?
Yeah, I think that's part 3 is also 3000. It can be one or the other. And then I think he did one called Orion's Key that is also technically a Shadow Chaser movie that I've never seen before. But I think that's also it's like in the vein of Project Shadow Chaser.
It's amazing someone thought there was a demand. I mean, were people asking for more Shadow Chaser movies? I mean, why did this happen?
Cheap to make, and Zagarino is available. It's just like, which is a good segue into my number 3, which is Armstrong.
Okay, all right.
Armstrong.
That one didn't make my list, but definitely one that I definitely enjoyed.
Because he's very expensive, his character, Rod Armstrong. Because he plays this mentor. He's helping Russians, and also the movie is ridiculous. If you remember, we didn't like it much on the site, but I think it needs a rewatch because it's so ridiculous the whole time. If you remember Charles Napier, he's all sweaty the whole time, and it's like,
well, the Cold War is heating up.
The Cold War is heating up with Joe Lara and Frankie Zag. Zig-Zag, I guess is the title of this podcast, I'm assuming.
Well, it's a classic 90s actioner that I guess, maybe we didn't like it so much at the time, but, maybe something has changed.
Because he's trying to be like Dolph Lundgren, which I will mention shortly because he's in another movie with Dolph Lundgren.
Yes, exactly.
And, we said that he has a shirt problem, Rod Armstrong, where his shirt's like half off. And just something about that is hilarious.
Yeah,
well,
I had
go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, he should be a shirt salesman. Shirts half off.
Because also in Never Say Die, he had like the fitness instructor shirt gets kind of all torn up, and as he's walking off, he kind of like puts like a piece of it over his shoulder, as if he's like suddenly like putting it on better.
Yeah, we saw Never Say Die. I think we're gonna post that soon or something, and we saw it so long ago now, a couple of years ago. And I remember that part. He's like, it's like 1/3 of a shirt. Just like
exactly. I had for this. It didn't make my list, but the opening paragraph or the paragraph where I kind of tell my understanding of, or like how I think about the movie. My exact words were, I kind of dug this one. So I think it was a little bit long, but otherwise it worked. And I mean, it's Menahem Golan who directs it, so it has almost like an end of the canon run feel to it. That I kind of liked as well.
Because there's that movie that he made, not Frank Zagarino, but like Joe Lara, also in this movie. Now I forgot the name. Lima Breaking the Silence.
Oh yeah.
But Menahem Golan made this. I saw it, and it's just like, this is very odd. Like it's like there's like a chase scene in the beginning, and then there's like more, not like courtroom drama. It's more like a hostage drama. So it's like and that's an odd movie too. It made around the same time as Armstrong.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's and this one's on Tubi, but it's a I don't know how to. Yeah, it's you're right, because I think like I was looking through the comments actually. You guys were commenting and were like, yeah, we didn't really like this one, and it's like on that level of like maybe it grows on you, or it's like maybe it depends on what else you've been watching at the time. It's hard to know.
Yeah, that's true. Armstrong is a mystery.
I bought it. I used to have it, and then I got rid of it at a tape purge. Like, you know what? That was a bad idea. So I got a new one about 2 years ago. And like, all right, then it needs to be rewatched. Now I got it. I know it's dumb, but I think I'll get it more. It'll be more dumb fun.
Well, yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah. I mean, what's
Right.
your number 3, buddy?
So my number 3 is The Protector.
Never got to see that. Never got to see
Yeah.
that, Brett. It's with Nijar.
Yes, it's a Nijar. Yeah, and, it's got Matthias Hughes in it. I don't know how to explain it. It's one of those ones where it's like, I think you talk about movies that are so bad they're good. I think the exact term I used was instead of so bad it's good, so awesome it's good, because it's like I think I wrote it's awesomely bad, which I think that was before people used awesomely in that kind of way to as an adverb, but
we got to see this. We've been trying to see it for a long time. You're
It's on
making
the
it
rare
sound
movie
like the
list.
type of movie we want to see.
Yeah, so give you a sense of how this. I kind of maybe I shouldn't tell you how it starts. I'll just kind of let you just take it and get what you get at. Like just sort of let the movie bring you in the way it does. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, because you got the Hughes, you got Zagarino. If you're looking for low budget, it's from 1998, but it kind of feels like it maybe could have been something a little bit earlier than that. It's just like all of your bad action just kind of bouillabaissed in and thrown it all in together.
It sounds like a blast. It seems like it. So it's made in 98, but it looks like it's from like 1991, right? It's what it seems like.
It has like the bad action feel, I think. Is maybe the best way to think of it.
Yeah, there's that feel you watch it. I've noticed that like a sheen.
Yeah.
Charles.
Yeah.
A Charles Sheen, you might say. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Winning.
It's kind of like almost like a with Nijar, it has almost like a Jalal Merhi kind of feel to it, where it's like
Okay.
and he did some of those movies with Merhi. He did TC 2000, Expect No Mercy. So I think he kind of took from that, how to make his movies, and those movies are kind of the same thing, right? Like TC 2000 or something, where it's like, I'm watching it, I'm like, this isn't good, but it's very entertaining and a lot of fun. And sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, that's what I look for. But hey, if we ever did a Nijar podcast, Ty, what would the name of that be?
Opening the Nijar.
Okay.
The River Nijar.
Whiskey in the Nijar.
Yeah, whiskey. Yeah, whiskey in the Nijar.
A Nijar reaction. No,
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a movie that it's been on our rare movie list for a while, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see it someday, because you're describing exactly what we hope and think it would be. But so time will tell.
Yeah, it actually has the distinction of being the last Zags film I reviewed on the site, which that was in
It's
2013.
you mentioned that 2013, so almost a 10-year Zag gap.
Yeah, I haven't done any Zags since I came back from hiatus. So yeah, I've got to get on some Zags there and make it happen.
All right, so Ty.
I had trouble with the last two, because the one is, I'm going to say the second one, which is Striker.
Okay,
Right.
I haven't seen that one before. Yeah, I tried to find it and I couldn't. So
Striker is one of his best.
Yeah. I've been meaning to try to catch it.
You got to catch it, because this delivers the goods. It's everything you want in a Zagarino movie, and it's pure fun the whole time.
Yeah.
I think that's, we saw it right when we were, I don't want to say we're going to write off Zags, but we were thinking maybe he's not so great. But then we saw Striker. It was like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's something here.
Yeah.
And it's an Italian production, so it has that going for it, and it's just, this is the Zags you want. I think if you're going to watch one Zags movie, it should probably be this, because this encapsulates everything that's really good about Zags.
Yeah,
he has like this really cool weapon, which I won't say, and there's just some really wacky stunts in it. Hopefully, you can procure this. Just buy it for like $20 or less on like eBay or Amazon, or
it might be your only way. And also I should mention that, Ty, you also have the soundtrack.
I sure do. I have it on record, so it's a great soundtrack. It's a great Zag soundtrack.
But I think it comes with a poster, and
it was like a mini poster and a record.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I tried to get it on YouTube, and I think they didn't have. I think the version was like one. I think it was one of those ones where it's like it's dubbed or something. I can't remember what the deal was with it.
It was it just wasn't the right language, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like I this is maybe like a just sort of a PSA to people who are putting out who are putting out these movies. Like, okay, you want to upload a movie to YouTube. I think that's fantastic that you want to do that, but. And I understand too that you don't speak English. Oh, actually, no. Striker is available and it's in English. I just didn't watch it yet. Oh, I have to watch it.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, now you have no excuse.
Yeah, you gotta watch it tonight.
Oh, I'm so mad because it was there and I could have watched it before our podcast, and I was like, somehow in my head I was like, oh no, because I remember the Air Bosses. They're all in Russian. But
why does that make sense somehow?
Yeah.
So what I'll have to do is when we're done with this podcast, I'm gonna watch the movie and I'm gonna Lucas it. And so I'll just go get some Bruce Willis ADR kind of people to like pretend to be you guys, and I'll be like, yes, I just watched Striker. Oh, what did you think of it? Yeah, it was really great. Oh, that's great. Then suddenly like somebody else is gonna be talking.
Oh no, and you can go, wow, because that's probably something I would say, and then
exactly. Right,
or what you could do is like, or in the next time you're on our podcast, we could do a Striker update, and then we could just ask.
Okay,
you
that's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, was it like Unsolved Mysteries, right? Like
right.
Update.
Yes, right.
Yeah, we'll get Robert Stack to do an update, and so no need to do any sort of crazy audio manipulation. Just watch it, write down your thoughts, and then we'll ask you next time.
Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, I can't believe I did that. I just you know what it is. You go through the filmography and you start like searching all the all the movies, and then it's like you got to get them. I need to start using notepads or something like that, and be like, okay, in Russian, can't use it, and
that's a good idea.
Yeah. But that was the thing. My sort of my message to people who are uploading movies. Okay, I get that you want to put the movie in the language, in the language that you're, where you're from. But if you have the version without the dubbing on it, upload the version without the dubbing too. Just do both, So do your version that has, your, dubbing the, everything over it in Russian or whatever. Fine, upload that one, but also upload us a version that doesn't have that in it, so that anybody, wherever in the world they are, because the number of people that are going to speak Russian that are going to see that is like a small percentage. But with English being the universal language, I think over 1 billion people worldwide speak English, or as a second language. It could be probably more than that. Just do us all that favor. You're already uploading it once. Upload it again and say, this is the version without the dubs. Here you go. And
hopefully people will listen to you.
Yeah. Please do it for the kids.
All right. So Striker. So we had Striker.
Yep.
Matt, I believe we're on your number 2.
So my number 2 is Tenzan. So we've already covered that one.
Oh, we already covered Tenzan. Is there anything more you wanted to say about Tenzan, or did we cover everything?
I think we did. I think it's just, for me, it was like, I guess the combination of the novelty and his kind of hero. But, you never know. Striker, it sounds like Striker would have probably made my top 5, and maybe Tenzan would have gotten pushed back a little bit.
There's a strong chance.
Yeah,
I don't know. I can't speak for you, but there's a really strong chance.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're at our number 1.
One is Project Eliminator, which is a sequel to Striker. So.
Yes, this is a lot of fun. There's so many fun things about this. Is just a fun blast that you just watch, and the time flies by because you're just having so much fun watching it. And
it's just like there's a smile on your face the whole time.
You
gotta watch Striker first, because then you watch Project Eliminator, because we said that like KFC's popcorn chicken, like we mentioned before, John Stryker's Slade is back.
So popcorn chicken's back. Yeah, so I have seen Project Eliminator. It was the one that was kind of between that one and Cyborg Cop 3 for me. And I don't want to say it's the hair extensions that made it to Cyborg Cop 3.
How dare you?
Yeah. Because in the beginning he's wearing that motorcycle helmet. It's just a bunch of hair. That's it.
Yeah, it's amazing, because the other thing too that I liked about Project Eliminator is, you've got David Carradine, you've got David Shark Fraley, who's just known as David Shark in the movie, and then I can't think of the other guy's name. Was it Brett Baxter?
Clark.
BBC.
Yeah,
I just think it was BBC.
BBC.
BBC One.
BBC One.
Faulty Towers now on BBC Two or BBC One.
But I mean, that's just so you don't get him confused with me, which I understand.
Right.
It's pretty close.
Right, exactly. We're calling him Brett. Like it's like what?
Which one?
Yeah, I didn't throw David Shark Fraley off what was that? Like it was like a balcony or something. Kind of, or like some kind of like high thing. Like where he throws David Shark Fraley off of it, and you think like he's dead or something. Like David Shark Fraley's like or broke his back or something, and it's like no, he just gets up and he's like later in the movie he's like fighting Zagarino.
Because also he has similar long blonde hair and similar build. I think we said it's like a Mortal Kombat mirror match.
Yes, we couldn't tell who was who. It was like which.
It's like which blonde, long-haired,
meathead?
shirtless meathead is it? I just can't tell. I mean, they should have given him like maybe like dark hair or something just to maybe separate the two meatheads apart. I mean, that would have been helpful. But it also all adds to the crazy silliness that is all part and parcel of this great movie.
It was just we were just so much fun when watching. We were like cheering.
And I think David Carradine actually expends some energy.
He does. Yes,
He has a fight scene.
Singing.
He sings. He fights.
Like it was very different from a lot of the other movies he was making around the same time, where he kind of looked like he didn't care. Like this one, he for whatever reason seemed to care. And there's Callista
Carradine.
Yes.
Maybe that's why, because
he's smiling. Usually he's so dour and like sad that he's in Future Force.
Yeah, of course, wouldn't you be?
Well, yes,
but yeah, in Future Zone and Future Force, you kind of get that Burt Reynolds-esque feeling that he really doesn't want to be there. But with this, no, it seems like he's having a grand old time, which is infectious. The energy is infectious.
Yeah. You watch, it's like, okay, this is perfect. This is just great.
Yeah, no, I don't know if either of you have been to New Mexico before. I technically have because I went to the Four Corners section of the USO. So I stood in the New Mexico corner for a period of time. So that's my experience with New Mexico.
I've never been to New Mexico.
Nope, never been.
I do remember that it was like in The Simpsons, like, can we stop holding hands now?
Yeah.
But they're all standing in the
No.
Well, yeah, because there was a sense in this movie, like, I mean, I think it takes place in and around Albuquerque, but there was a sense that you were just like out in the middle of nowhere for all of this, and it was which kind of added something to it, where it's just like, like anytime they would be near something, like when they went to like this convention center where there was like a swimsuit runway show, you're like, why is this happening here in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, because a lot of movies we watch, they take place in the middle of nowhere, but this one, you're right, it gives it a certain je ne sais quoi. Because what's the movie? It's called like, or I think it's Desert Kickboxer, where they're kind of just like in the desert.
Oh, I think of Desert Heat.
No, Desert Kickboxer.
Oh, John Newton.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's Florentine's first directed movie, right? I think
that was a good one.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you should. I think you'd like it, but that has a similar feel as far as its location.
Yeah.
If only Newton made more movies, he can be in a podcast. Newton's Apple, or it's like.
Oh no! And maybe he could team up with Todd Newton.
I love Todd Newton.
Oh man, yes.
John Newton and Todd Newton.
Now, Todd Newton, my wife and I would sometimes watch Home Shopping Networks, kind of as a fun thing.
Joe Meyer.
Yeah, exactly, the Domer. And Todd Newton, he got picked up by this other one called Evine, and it was kind of funny because the difference between him and Domer, like Domer's like really good at selling stuff, whereas Todd Newton is just like, I'm Todd Newton from E, and I'm selling like Invicta watches or something, and it's like people call in and he's like, they're talking about getting tattoos and things like that. It's just
right, because he's big into tattoos, which you don't always see. I guess he wears like a suit, but like if you were to see his arms, I guess they're all like tattooed.
He has a sleeve.
I believe he does.
Yeah, he's both arms are sleeves, I believe. Yeah.
And he was the host of Hollywood Showdown, I believe.
Yes, which was on the preview channel when you could watch it in the square. So it's like it was a bigger square, if you remember that, bro.
Because that's when it started having original programming. I mean, that's how crazy. That's how crazy and how popular the preview channel was. It wasn't just. It went from being just the the rolling TV guide to then having commercials, then to having movie trailers, then to having original shows. It's amazing. We should have on our last podcast. We actually mentioned the preview channel.
We should have mentioned that.
I don't know why we didn't. We weren't talking about Todd.
No.
We didn't mention the original programming.
Oh, okay.
With One Dark Fright, Tim and Rebecca. But we did mention the Preview channel, yes.
We mentioned the Scroll, but not Hollywood Showdown. So
No.
Yeah, because like they had like it was like, I don't know if it was like bought out by, or it had like a collaboration or something with the E channel. So like they would do like a lot of E like entertainment news and stuff too on the like, you know, kind of like the quick bits that you would see like when you watched E. You know, like, oh, you know, this celebrity is doing this or that right now.
What's Steve Kometko up to? You know,
right, exactly.
But that would make sense with the presence of Todd Newton if there's an E connection.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think there was because I think they would do other, you know, E stuff at that time. Yeah, that I remember when that channel first came out. When it was like you know, they would do like the E, like whatever it was.
It was an exclamation point. E. It's like.
But I think you guys, and I guess myself, we should have gotten a chance to be on Hollywood Showdown. I think it would have done really well because it's all like movie questions, right?
Right.
And not only that, you know, on the E channel, if you remember Todd Newton, or it's Todd Newton and other people, that he had just, it was a show of just coming attraction, just
Yes.
preview.
Oh yeah, I remember that. It was just
Yeah.
movie trailers, but you could watch them at home.
Yeah, like.
And I remember they would say too, like it was like, you know, for those people who think the best part of the movie is the trailers, and I was like, who are those people?
Well, it's like polio string cheese. It's the best part of the pizza.
Right.
And if we're going to go back to 80s or early 90s, taglines that we still remember.
We did a lot of them.
And then there's that other show they had, which I believe it was called Cut to the Chase, where they just cut out like all the parts of a movie and like showed it in like a half an hour.
One. Was this like a comedy kind of bit, like Talk Soup, or was it like?
It might have been hosted by Comeuppance. I'm not sure, but
I'm gonna look that up.
I believe the show was called Cut to the Chase, and they'd show a movie in, I believe, a half an hour because they advertised the fact that they cut it to shreds.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Hilarious.
Because at that time, when E first started, like it was like almost like they were struggling for programming. It was like, I think like everything would be, it was like a certain, like, I don't know if it was like a 3 or 4 hour block that they would just repeat. Or maybe it wasn't even that long. Maybe it was like a 2 hour or something like that. Where like,
wasn't much on. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like Talk Soup would be repeated like 6 times a day,
right,
or something.
Because that was like their best. That was like their flagship show. You know.
Yeah.
With Bergeron. Wait, he was the original host.
Well, it was John Henson.
Right, John
before
Henson.
those guys, it was Greg Kinnear. That was how he.
Oh, that's right. It was Greg Kinnear, then John Henson for a long time.
Yeah.
And then they had a revolving cast of hosts.
You even had like Alf hosted or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, around the time they had Alf's hit talk show, which was the name of the show.
You can probably find clips of. I think you can find clips of Talk Soup on YouTube. It's kind of fun to watch because it was only about these goofy, you know, Jerry Springers or Maury's or Jenny Jones. It's like now I don't.
Because that's all they had back then. Now we have like 5,000 channels. They had a lot to pick from. Yeah, back then all they had it was literally Talk Soup. They was taken from talk shows.
It.
Yeah, and I remember too, like they weren't always funny. Like I remember, there was this woman who had a talk show. I think she was Canadian originally, but there was like a Holocaust denier in her audience, and she screamed at the woman because I guess she was of Jewish descent, and it was like Greg Kinnear was like, "Here we go, this is this scene," and it's like, okay, that's not funny. Like that's very serious. Like, you know, but it was like at the time, I think there was a mindset of like before it was just all funny. It was like we're just gonna recap the talk shows or something.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I know what you're talking about because Talk Soup means like we'll have something funny, we'll have something maybe not so funny. Yeah, that people forget about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's people. It's funny to think about like what TV was in the '90s with these cable channels that were just coming out. Like I remember like a lot of indie films I first saw on Bravo, and it's like the idea of watching an indie film on Bravo now just sounds so far removed from what Bravo is.
Yeah, these channels change a lot. I think it depends on like the management and all this stuff. But yeah, TV was different. Really, not all that long ago.
Yeah. And actually, this is kind of an interesting segue into my number one movie, my number one Zags, because actually the memory that I have of it actually is 90s cable. But my number one is Project Shadow Chaser 2. And I first saw this
choice.
I first saw this on the TNT Monday Night Nitro block, where, you know, it's like they do Monday Night Nitro with, Hollywood Hulk Hogan and all that's WCW. And then they do an action movie at like 10 o'clock at night. And, you know, there's Genesee and there's, Zagarino. And I remember just this movie just seems so ridiculous. Like, what is going on here? And I guess I didn't, because Zagarino looks so different than he did in Never Say Die, I didn't put those two together, like, oh, that's the same guy who's playing the android. But I remember, like, you know, when I revisited it for the blog, it was like Zagarino had a lot of personality as the baddie, even though, you know, in the first movie he's like this unfeeling android.
Right, nothing.
Yeah, and in the part two, he's like chewing a lot of scenery, and then, you know, Genesee as the hero was like a lot of fun too. And I remember watching it where, like, it's like this diehard ripoff kind of movie, and I remember, like, they're kind of giving Genesee intel on, like, the baddies that have taken over, and they're like, yeah, this guy's an android, you know, da da da. And I was like, they just threw that in there, like, that just feels like it's just like okay, that was an android.
It's kind of like when people talk in a car from far away.
Right.
It's like, oh, we're off to our new new vacation spot. Oh, we are? Okay, I guess.
Yeah, you can see that in movies a lot, where, like, you know, it's this dialogue over the car, you know, trip.
Yeah.
Right,
Like,
to just give us the backstory. I mean, the one who does it the best is Andy Sidaris in those Lethal Ladies movies, because it's just like, yeah, I don't want to do a lot of plot exposition to cut out the scenes of blowing up, you know, remote control airplanes and scenes of like topless women in hot tubs. So we'll just like have a conversation that gives us, you know, 3 years worth of plot exposition in 10 minutes, and then we'll get back to the other stuff.
Yeah, that is something he does a lot. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Is Hard Hunted, like, I haven't watched that yet, but I know it's in that set.
Yes, I did watch Hard Hunted recently.
Somewhat. Is it more? It's goofy. Is it goofy or more serious with that kind of title?
No, it's just like all the others.
The usual. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it is somehow based off of like a World War II. Maybe that's what you're thinking. It's like a World War II Japanese soldier is like on an island or something.
That's what I thought.
Pat Morita, but it's no. I don't know if that was intention, but no, it is not any more serious than any of the others, really.
Yeah, it's almost like when you get to that point, it's like Sidaris and company, like, they just knew what they were doing, or they knew what they wanted to make for a movie, and so then it's like, yeah, it just kind of fits like all of the trope or all of the things.
Yeah, at that time the factory was rolling, like he was, you know, the 90s was definitely his golden age. I mean, he'd been making movies, you know, I guess since the 70s, or maybe even earlier, but he really hit his stride in the 90s, you know, because, you know, the cable was buying his movies. They're, you know, they were huge on, you know, Showtime, Cinemax, the Movie Channel, and it was really, he really hit his stride. And you're right, that's part of that stride. So yeah.
When it comes to Project Shadow Chaser 2, I got to rewatch it. I know I've seen it in my memory. I got it on that DVD set, or I rented it from the old Netflix disc a long time ago. My memory is a bit poor. I've seen Project Shadow Chaser 1 recently, but there's like two versions though. There's like the unrated version of Project Shadow Chaser 2.
Is there? Oh, nice.
It's just a couple more blood squibs,
and more Zags,
and more Sega Genesee. And it's like, but now I'm going to call him that. It's really it's perfect. It's right there. Which if we do a Genesee episode, I guess you can try to watch Bad Guys in Hell, Matt. That's that weird movie of Madsen. Did I send you the link for that?
No, I don't know.
I'll try to do it because it's like.
I kind of know what you're talking.
I think I might have sent it to you. I mean,
the only way you can watch it is through this link. So Ty has to send you the link.
Okay, that's right.
I can resend it. I can try. I might have sent it to you on your message thing on.
Oh right, Instagram. I couldn't open it for some reason.
Oh, we couldn't open it. Oh, okay. I mean,
that's what it was. Yeah.
Because gang links.
But then also you'd have to watch every episode of Street Justice. Right?
Well, I've already done that.
Well, I know you have, but most people haven't.
Yes,
I think it was a punch fighting episode, right?
Oh yeah,
like Ring of Fire, something like that.
Yeah, he was. I remember, like I said, that my when I was growing up, that this independent channel, TV channel out of Derry, New Hampshire, Friday nights they would do Renegade and Street Justice. It was just
you really just can't beat that. I mean, how can that be beat?
No, I mean, you know, at that time, you know, the 90s, that's the top-notch TV right there.
Yeah, it was. Because I remember when USA picked it up, they did Highlander Renegade, which
it's so good. I guess
it's good, but it's not the same as like.
I know
it was like this action night thing. It was like because Highlander is like a completely different kind of syndicated
time
TV
travel.
show.
I mean, there's medieval stuff. It doesn't really fit.
Yeah, they
with
were going for
Renegade.
something a little bit more serious than Renegade. You know, they really got in there, and then of course when you get to the, I think it's like the 5th or 6th season where they're like this evil smoke that's around, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah, and I once the episode called Finale on Highlander, the show, I just stopped. You called it Finale. I'm done.
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah, it's interesting with TV shows like how there's a point where they just kind of it's just not working anymore, but yet they kind of it's interesting. Like nowadays, it seems like a lot of TV shows know when they're not working, and they end it early. You know, like okay, you know, like Sopranos ends after the 6th season. You know, they're like okay, we're not gonna, you know, we're kind of, you know, it's time to kind of keep, you know, to wrap this thing up. Whereas in the past, it was like TV shows would find out after they were bad that they should have wrapped it up early.
Well, and if you're CBS, they still
Yeah.
follow that rule. It's
Yes.
like no cancellations at any cost. It doesn't matter how bad the show's gotten. Just keep on pumping out episodes of NCIS and
Blue
Criminal
Blood is
Minds.
still on. It's now in its 13th or 14th season, or it's going to be 14 seasons. And we got to give it a rest. I mean,
I think
I'm
CBS thinks
sighing.
if it doesn't get to like double-digit seasons, then it's a failure for CBS. I mean, they just have to keep hammering these same shows.
NCIS still on. It's been on for over 15 years
Yeah.
with no end in sight. Doesn't Mark Harmon want to do something else? But I guess not. It's
I
just,
think he did actually.
Oh, he did?
I think
Summer
there was
School
a
too.
period where- Yeah, summer school. Exactly.
That could make sense now. He goes back to school. He's older. You know, it's like,
I thought that he at one point was going to leave the show, and something happened with it where it was like, I think maybe he did leave the show, and it just was doing so badly that they just gave him an offer he couldn't refuse or something, or maybe he didn't see the work out there he was expecting. I don't remember what happened exactly, but there I think he was planning to leave the show, and it just didn't end up working out for some reason.
Well, that's the end of the Zags list.
yeah.
Yeah, do we? Well, I know we've got some honorable mentions. I guess.
Oh,
should-
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
I forgot about those. I guess I'll make that quick. Let me just get the list back up here.
Yeah,
Here we
got
go.
the
Here we go.
NCIS there, and that was.
Oh, yeah, sorry. If we're going to NCIS, we're going to wrap up.
Right.
So,
Unlike the
two-
show itself.
well, it's not going to. We'll be
Well, no,
on
I
another-
mean NCIS.
Oh, yeah. They'll never end. They'll just probably get some other guy like a Mark Harmon if he unfortunately passes away. You know, and then get Bakula or something like that. Wait. Now the thing. Oh, Without Mercy is on my
Oh, okay. So that was not one of mine.
mentions. And I'll just make quick. And great, now I lost it.
Was
3
it-
more seconds.
Something, was it To Kill? Was it Program to Kill or
Wait, are you talking about Train to Kill? Because that's also
with Chuck Connors?
Yeah, Chuck Connors.
I think we like
No,
that
Rifleman.
one.
We
Like,
did
it's not
like
enough
that
for the
one, yeah.
list, but I
It
think
was
we did
close.
like
It was really close because it had Robert Zadar, and we did Train to Kill on the Zadar list, so I didn't put it on this one.
Yeah, I couldn't get that one. I couldn't get Train to Kill. There's a Leslie Nielsen movie from the 70s called Train to Kill. That's actually
That
on
sounds good.
YouTube.
Is he like Zags? And that'd be funny.
Yeah, I was like, man, I was like, oh, this is it, and I was like, no, that wasn't it. So yeah, I was very disappointed.
We can't let this podcast go about mentioning Maximum Potential.
Yeah, so that's
Because-
definitely on my honorable mentions as well. Just fantastic that he
The
did that.
exercise video of Dolph. I like Frank Zagarino. He's my workout partner.
I mean, I don't know if this is worth mentioning, but there's
Go ahead.
also Control 5.
Deadly Reckoning.
Deadly Reckoning,
Yeah.
Book Boy.
Book Boy. So that was on my honorable mentions, just because of the Book Boy factor. It's a movie that had no business being bad with the names that were in it. With the talent that I mean, it had Genesee, I think, was in it. Hughes. It was like, how is this movie bad?
Robert Vaughn.
Yeah.
Robert Vaughn. Yeah, I was like, why is this movie not working? But it didn't work.
It's an amazing question. I mean, it
just-
just goes to show what we call the Lone Tiger effect. Just because the cast is good doesn't mean the movie's good. So I guess that's just a Lone Tiger effect movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because it was an Art Camacho directed it, so it should have had really great acts. But
I know. I mean, it is kind of funny in some places, but
Yeah, it's funny. Maybe I don't have a copy. We watched it on old Netflix streaming, I think.
yeah, I think I said there was like one good fight with Genesee, and that was it. But then
I don't remember Jesse even being in it.
because he gets killed off kind of early in. It's
Oh, no
like,
wonder. That's why.
he
Yeah,
fights him and he dies. It's like, oh, okay. I don't know why we're doing that, Yeah, you're right. Like there's a sense like if you just throw a bunch of names in, but there's a sense if you throw a bunch of names in, it should work. But I think it was just like it was like the lines, like the Book Boy, some of that stuff. The fact that it has the cast that it has, it's like, and of course this was a Netflix Watch Instant back when Netflix.
Oh
Watch
yeah,
Instant
I
was
remember
good.
that.
So yeah, don't have a lot to lose. I mean, I actually still would recommend it to people if they want to see something on the sillier side.
Yeah.
I do want to mention one other movie, which
Sure.
it's really hard to find, which is called Strike Zone.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to see that. It's one of these like movies that never really came out, and he's in Bulgaria and it has Billy Drago and Joe Lara.
Yeah,
and
it's
like,
another one of those Inga Vortson ones.
Exactly, and Richard Lynch. I'd like to see it, but it never came to our shores, or maybe it was never even put out. No one's really seen it. It's kind of like these old Madsen movies that never came out in 2000s.
Well, maybe someone listening will, have a copy like they did with that link they gave you for Badfellas.
Yeah, the movie is so funny, Badfellas or Bad Guys in Hell, because you watch it like this, something's wrong. You're watching it, it's not edited right, and James Russo is insane in it. And it's like, I mean, maybe the link will work again. I mean, I'm trying to resend it, but you kind of have to watch it for the Genesee factor and the Madsen factor. Yeah. I think Madsen might be a little inebriated. And it's like, yeah, he wears like these military fatigues. It's. I kind of had to watch it in this small little box. It was kind of hard to watch a little bit, but
yeah, I can imagine.
So was that what you were saying about the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie where you had
yeah, where you can watch the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, but you can watch in that really small box on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
Like before it premieres in theaters. Oh, but it's in this impossible to see box with like you need like a magnifying glass or something. Ridiculous.
Yeah, the whole the Aqua Teen thing. Cause I remember at the time they were doing like a lot of like what's the term, like underground advertising for things and stuff like that. And because I remember there was a huge thing in Boston because they were
that's right, they had the bombs or
right,
there was potential bombs.
Yeah, Boston so I mean because I think Boston was like really on edge because I think 2 of the planes from 9/11 flew out of Logan. And it was like the security just really dropped the ball. I think that was like kind of the mindset. So they're like really on edge, and then it was like it just ended up making them look even worse because they were like, "How do you not know that that's like a character from Aqua Teen Hunger Force?"
Well, that's the thing, is it's the character. Plus, I guess you can't do these kind of underground advertisements anymore. There's like another example. What is that movie from about 15 years ago? I hate to seem to say that. It's Eliza Cuthbert. Do you remember this movie, Brett?
Girl Next Door?
No. The horror movie.
House of Wax?
No. You're close. I have to remember the title.
Captivity?
Thank you. Captivity. Yeah. Do you remember this story, Brett or Matt? Where like the Captivity poster was too serious for billboards. It's like.
I don't, but.
I mean, it's like they show Cuthbert. It's like she's alive, then she's tortured, then there's like executed. It's just like
and they didn't
you can take a look. They didn't like it. Well, I guess it's like snuffed out. It's like Captivity. It's like, oh, I guess I get that, but it's like an underground advertisement in a way.
Right. Yeah. And so like the idea, like, I mean, I think that's like kind of how Netflix tries to do with all of their things. It's like, oh, let's, everybody wants to watch Bird Box or everybody wants to watch Tiger King or something. It's like,
I'm not
like,
falling for those.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like, that's how they try to get us all to watch that stuff, and we're just like, okay, forget it.
I almost watched Bird Box, but like, I don't care about Bird Box. It's like,
well, I did watch Tiger King, and as I said before, I think I don't really understand all the hype. It's basically like a 48 hours episode.
Yeah.
But just kind of strung over several episodes. But it's really not anything different you'd see on like a Dateline or a 48 Hours. I just don't really. But as they say, it was the height of the pandemic. People were home, and I think it just sort of caught on because people were stuck at home, and they're like, "Oh, Tiger King," and it caught on. But really, if that same exact thing was on 48 Hours or Dateline, I wouldn't even have made a blip. I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they tried to make like a movie out of it with Nicolas Cage, but like, no, even Nicolas was like, "Yeah, that's over." It's like,
yeah, it was a short-lived trend, but
it's like even he said that, like, "Yeah, I don't care about it anymore."
Wait,
it's
so
like,
the movie with Nicolas Cage isn't happening?
No, or show. No, it's not. He's like, I'm done with that. I don't care anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, if Nicolas Cage doesn't care, then I don't care, and that goes for everything in life.
Yeah.
All right.
But we can let it go. I mean, this was a good list. I think.
Yeah.
No,
Someone's got to talk about Zags.
Yeah, we're the men to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So I guess do you guys have any plugs? Anything that you want to? Yeah.
Yes, a plug, I guess.
Comeuppance Reviews.net is our website, and it's if you want to read more about Zagarino or anything else.
Yeah, we posted
like
a bunch of Zags.
You can go there, and also our podcast, which is called the Comeuppance Reviews podcast. It's on pretty much every podcatcher, I think.
Yeah, it should be. And then I guess my Instagram is Tie Action Rocks, which I posted Hostile Intent today. Rob Lowe. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Matt. It's really ridiculous.
It's one of our favorite reviews.
Yeah.
I think the review is funny, personally.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Not to pat myself on the back, but it's funny.
But, the review, writes itself because we
it
call
really
it
does. Yeah.
a new low. With
an E, get it?
With an E, yeah.
Well, it's a PGW, paintball gone wrong.
Exactly. Now, I'm wondering with Rob Lowe, when you think of a new low, is it like now that he's doing like sneaker commercials and Atkins diet commercials, like is that
is that a new low? Yeah,
right,
I see what you're saying.
Well, he loves Atkins. I actually tried one of the Atkins bars just because it was just hanging around my friend's house. Like, it was all right. I mean, it was like a donut bar, but it was really small.
Yeah.
It's like.
So after eating it, you didn't immediately start looking like Rob Lowe?
No, I did, but it's a very short-lived feeling.
And then it went away. Yeah.
Then it went away. It's very, very short. It's like numbness. It's like you get your Rob Lowness, and it's
like, oh, what a hunk. Oh, it's
gone. I'm back to my almost hunkness. I'm sorry.
It's like St. Almost Fire Rob Lowe. You're just like, yeah.
Wait, you say what? Did you say Danimals? Wait, what did you say?
St. Almost.
St. Almost Fire. Okay.
Danimals.
I know it's a yogurt, but it's like.
Yeah.
That would be a new Rob Lowe if he was doing Animals commercials.
I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, because I watched 911 Lone Star, and it's just like for a show that has Rob Lowe in it, and he's working the main character. He's not in it that much, so it's like he just does nothing. Because I think like his brother writes for the show. It's like John Lowe. It's like John Lowe. It's just like
so it's
and Chad dropped by.
Oh yeah, Chad.
Chad
I guess it's a Lowe family joint. It's like In Living Color. Like just a bunch of weigh-ins.
Right.
Now it's just a bunch of lows. And it's just like, I mean, the thing about this John Lowe guy, he writes for the show, and then Rob Lowe must say, I don't want to be in the show that much. Bring me like one scene. It's like, that's basically what he's been doing lately.
They have like a brotherly kind of spat.
Yeah, it's like, he used to do more. But I guess if we're talking about Atkins, Rob Lowe, well, I was talking about Hostile Intent, which is a funny movie. But we can probably let you go. Those are the links.
Yeah. Well, I think. No, I think wrapping up, I think, I think Zags is one of those guys that, like, again, he's kind of like another tier down.
Yeah.
And I think we had him on that episode of The Other Guys, and I think he may have been our number one other guy. And it's kind of worth giving him the shine that we did today. And I think
that's a good point.
Yeah, I think people will find some enjoyment. But the thing is, with the Zagarino, when you get down to that lower tier, you're going to get some stinkers too. So don't say we didn't warn you when you're delving in there.
Because we started off with duds, and then he eventually, came up the ranks a little bit. Like, oh, that guy's pretty good,
Yeah. All right, so this list is actually really helpful to people because these are they can skip all those and they can just go right to the good ones, which we had to go through all of them. So we're really saving people a lot of time.
That's great.
We do the hard work, so
we do the hard work, so you don't have to.
A nice compact 90 minutes, and it's just like it's perfect. So like,
we're the young guy. We're the young guy who co-stars with Steven Seagal, and we do all the heavy lifting while he just sits there and it's like.
We're the Byron Mans.
Right, we're the Byron Mans, exactly, the Bren Foster. So
we're the guy who does his voice over ADR work.
And then we're like the Roy Orbison of the of his hair and glasses.
Yeah, I can't do it, but the guy who does the voice.
Well,
it depends if he wants to be Cajun or not. I think he has the Cajun guy.
Yeah.
Like when he wants to be more Cajun, and then he has the other guy without the Cajun accent who does his voice.
Yeah. Attack Force really is his best ADR work. It's like.
I think I mentioned that in the review. Like, I can't remember. There's some ADR stuff in there that is just so ridiculous in Attack Force that right, is Attack Force the one where there were people that had special powers?
Yes.
But he didn't have special powers, but he could still throw people through walls too.
Yes, he did. And then there's a part where he says via dub, "I'm glad you recognize my voice." And it's like, you
hey,
got
I'm
it.
Steven Seagal. It's like, wait a minute.
The Jay Leno doing it. I'm Steven Seagal.
Well, I think he might have had a few Doritos in his time, but
Yes.
Yeah, I think he likes Cool Ranch a little bit too much.
he seems like a Cool Ranch guy.
Cool Ranch
I like Cool Ranch.
Yeah, I was gonna say he'd be Cool Ranch and Mountain Dew, but I think he's probably more like Cool Ranch and like whiskey or something. Like he's doing so much.
No, Seagal, like he likes those Cheetos with the checks on them. It's like, it's like he really liked those. He was sad those got discontinued.
Well, I think Saddam Hussein liked those too.
Yeah, I like Cheetos. I mean, okay.
I think there's an actual quote. He's like, I like Cheetos and Fritos, but not Doritos. Like, because he had access to the vending machine and he would eat like snacks, American snacks, I guess, that he never had before.
I would like to see him go to a vending machine. Like, here I go, I'm walking to the vending machine. What am I going to pick today? Ooh, Fritos.
And it's like, guard, you're out of Fritos.
He shoots them.
Yeah, and he kills him. Because he developed like a taste for certain American snacks. Kind of interesting.
Salty American snacks for causing fat Americans.
Yeah, I mean they're engineered. The snacks are engineered in a way to like make you want to eat them. So it's. I mean, of course, I mean, I mean, you think about it. If America really wanted to take down, like let's say America really wanted to take down Russia, just like start like, airdropping bags of Doritos into the, and people start eating them and suddenly like they just got like hypertension, diabetes.
Oh yeah, I've been saying that for years. I mean, we should be doing that. And well, of course, there is a whole book about how food is engineered. At least one book, which is called Salt, Sugar, Fat, which is about how like when you see on a package, oh, it's 10% less fat. Well, to make up for that, they pump up the sugar. Then like 2 years later, it says less sugar. Then they move the fat and they just take salt, sugar, and fat and they move them around in different combinations to say one's less than the other. And so if you're interested in that subject, read that book. But yeah, I mean, that's why, like, why are there weight rooms in prisons? Like, why do we want harder, faster, more elite criminals when they get out of jail? What we should do is get rid of all weight rooms from prisons. And if they want to do push-ups on their own, great. But I don't see why we should pay for their weight room and then use that space to fill it up with cookies, donuts, shakes. And so they're fat and listless when they get out of prison and they don't feel like committing crimes.
Because if they had a Shake Shack, that'd be pretty, almost wanting to go to prison then for that.
But I mean, they should load it up with turkey and milk. So they're like, they have all that tryptophan and then
turkey-based meat. Yeah.
They should have, we should get Subway to cater the prisons. So it's substandard, not so good food. They're eating lots of turkey. They're tired. They want to nap. How can you want to rape, rob, and kill when you're, loaded up with turkey and milk? Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, I could solve the crime crisis in this country tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, too, that the workout area seems to be the place where all of the shanking happens. And so, like, you could also curb a lot of the violence in the prison if you don't have everybody in the yard doing the gym stuff, because it's like, oh, guys lifting weights and, like that's when everybody's, oh, can I get a spot, man? Oh, let's go talk about how we're going to shank this guy,
Right, exactly. And then even if you do shank him, he's so fat, then, like, the shank doesn't really do anything because,
it breaks off.
Yeah, it has to go through several layers of fat that wasn't there before. So I'm actually helping, no one listens to me. That's my problem.
I guess this got off.
All right, bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, we should end on a happy note. I mean, like, want some tags tonight? It's like,
yeah, go out to the store, get yourself a good bag of Doritos, a bag of MTN Dew, and
yes.
some Zags movies.
Perfect. That's a great way to end this one.
yes. And well, I mean, Doritos are now called
yeah,
because they took out the O's. It says DRTS.
Snacks Incorporated.
All right.
But I guess
we out.
Thanks again for having us on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back soon. Bye everyone.
Hear that? That's the sound of a patient whose health data is protected from a cyber attack. And that's the sound of a financial system that's digitally secured from bad actors. Right now, there's an invisible war being fought on a digital battlefield that impacts what we do every day. That's why at Peraton, we do the can't be done to help protect the vital systems we rely on. Because if we don't, the alternative is unimaginable. Peraton,